The following podcast is a Dear Media production.
She's a lifestyle blogger extraordinaire.
Fantastic.
And he's a serial entrepreneur.
A very smart cookie.
And now Lauren Everts and Michael Bosstick are bringing you along for the ride.
Get ready for some major realness.
Welcome to the Skinny Confidential. Him and her.
Aha!
My parents were very clear that there were two parts of our lives. One was work, and it was made very clear to me that it was work, and that is a different set of circumstances. And when you came home, though, we were the Rosenbergs. We were home. I was raised with expectations that needed to be met. I was expected to get good grades. I was not turned into a snowflake. I was expected to be polite. I was expected to get good grades. I was expected to be a good person. There were no excuses made. You knew what the rules were.
How you doing, Michael Bosstick?
I'm doing pretty good, even though we got off of a 5 a.m. flight, or at least we've been up since 5 a.m. Texas time flight to come out here to California. I got a lot of energy, though, because I'm mainlining coffee basically right into my veins.
How gnarly is it traveling with a baby? Can we just discuss that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, here's what it is. There's the type of parents that says it's hard and just doesn't do it. And then there's the type of parents that says it's hard and just puts themselves through punishment and suffering, which is the type of parents we are. It is not easy. I think people they ask us all the time, like, how do you travel with a baby? How do you do this? We suffer through it. It sucks. It's miserable. It's really difficult. You are those people on the plane when the baby's screaming that everyone's looking at with daggers wanting to kill, but we do it.
Here are some tips that I found that work really well. We carry Apple Crunchables by That's It. She loves those. We have a movie already downloaded on Michael's iPad. We have songs on my phone. We have little activities. We bring her bunny, her doll, her Barbie, everything you can possibly bring.
We go as early as we possibly can or as late as we possibly can so that she can get some sleep. But listen, I don't want to tell anybody. Everyone that's listening is like, oh wow, they like parents that are listening with young kids. No. It's not easy. It's not great. We're suffering the whole time. I don't want anyone to listen to this and be like, well, they got it figured out. We just gut through it and do it anyway. That's kind of the type of people we are. We're just like, it's going to suck. We're going to be miserable. It's going to be tough. We're going to be tired. We're going to be exhausted. The kid's going to be miserable, but we just do it anyway. So I don't want people to listen to this and be like, wow, they make it look so easy. It's not easy. We just grit our teeth and do it.
One of my favorite things about traveling as a parent, that before when a baby would cry on a plane, you'd be like, oh, come the fuck on. Are you fucking kidding me? And now that you're parents, the parents that are sitting around you just look at you and it's like a wink. It's like the nudge, you're all in on the joke. I don't think anyone has an easy time.
There's three types of people. There's the people that have never had children, that have no idea what it's like, who we used to be.
Weston.
And a lot of people. And they're miserable and they're like, what the fuck? What are you doing on the plane? And they're staring you down with daggers and they want you to die and they hate your kid and they hate you and they're like, what the fuck?
Taylor.
Then there's the people that are existing parents. When I say existing, like they have a kid that's anywhere between the ages of, newborn to maybe, let's call it 10 years old. If your kid's screaming and whining after 10, then you got to do something about that kid. But between 0 to 10, and those parents are like, they empathize with you. They're like, oh my God, like, and you're kind of like camaraderie. And then there's the old dogs, the old parents, the ones that have done it before and had the kids and are all grown. And they look back and find them and like, and they fondly like, I remember those days. And they kind of like wish they still had them, but they're also really glad that they're not in them anymore. And they're just enjoying life because they don't have to deal with this shit anymore. Those are the three types I've encountered. And
then it's the grandparents, like our parents.
That's what I'm talking about.
No. But the grandparents are a different level because the grandparents are like, oh, the baby's crying. Here, take her. She's all yours now. But then they want to see her when she's in a good mood.
Yeah. Well, I think like maybe the grandparents and like the older parents, they fall in that same bucket.
Okay.
I'm just talking about the flying type of people.
Well, we got driven today by an Uber who had 9 kids. So, and 2 sets of twins.
Listen.
So we can't complain.
As soon as you think that you have it tough, I guarantee you'll find a story where someone has it a lot tougher. I always remember that. I always think that way. And also same thing with success. As soon as you think you're successful, look around and realize there's someone way more further along the road than you. It's the same thing, both with misery and happiness.
Well, this is a really great intro for this show because we are talking to someone's daughter who is iconic. The daughter's iconic. The mother's iconic.
They're both iconic.
It was a mother-daughter duo like no other. And that is Melissa Rivers. She is so major, you guys. She is funny. She's charismatic. She's dynamic. I can see Joan Rivers in her. It's very, very clear. What I love about Melissa is she's so open. She's so honest. She's refreshing, honestly. Just to give you a little background on her, she is an American actress, a television host. You might recognize her from Fashion Police or Joan and Melissa. Joan Knows Best. She's also a mother, a daughter. She is incredible. She's an author. She does all the things, and she is funny. You should also know Melissa has a podcast called Group Text Podcast. She kind of does it all. There's one thing for me when I meet a beautiful woman like her, and then they open their mouth and they're funny, I just fall in love.
You and me both.
Funny is the way to be. And Joan Rivers, I mean, we can all agree that she was the definition of funny, and her daughter is the same way. With that, let's welcome Melissa to the Skinny Confidential, Him and Her show.
This is the Skinny Confidential, Him and Her.
I'm going to say I could not be more excited for this podcast. Like the reason I podcast is because of people like you and your mother. Like this to me is a real audio guru and visual too. But I mean, you just know how to get on a mic.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But can we discuss the fact that I've been following you forever?
You have?
Yes.
What?
Yes. And
I'm
always,
dead.
and I'm always on your website. I know all about the little new pink face roller.
I'm going to send you one.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm a huge fan, and being here is amazing. Like, I can't believe, I mean, you and I were in the elevator together, and like, I feel like I'm instantly making a friend because you already told me I had to convince you to move to a different neighborhood.
Yeah, you got to move me.
Well, we moved to a whole different state, but we're back here now.
State schmate.
Yeah, state schmate. I need to be like feeling comfortable here too.
Yeah.
Well, Melissa, if honestly, maybe if I would have met you a few months earlier, we could have changed our whole course of life. But we'll make up for lost time.
We'll make
here.
up for lost time. But literally within 2 seconds in the elevator, she's like, "Where do you live?"
Not creepy or anything.
No, not creepy at all. Like, where do you live? And I know that you have the baby. And Lauren's like, well, I don't know if we're in the right neighborhood for a family.
No.
And I'm like, oh, you're not. This is where I raised my son. Da, 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 da. You can walk. You can do this. It's a neighborhood.
You've been in LA since you were 3.
I've been in LA since I was 3 and then got shipped back east for college.
I love how you say you got shipped. Like, what is that? What do you mean you got shipped? Did you get put in a crate?
Close.
Okay.
I was sent kicking and screaming to the East Coast, to University of Pennsylvania, to Penn. I'm a geek in disguise. We always discuss that. And who would want to leave? My parents had an amazing beach house when you were a senior in high school, and my parents were remodeling our house in Bel Air, and I was living out at the beach house. I mean, seriously.
Why did you leave?
Well, I didn't really have a choice. I was sent. But so who would want to leave? So my parents said, give us 2 years.
Give us 2 years alone.
Give us 2 years. If you hate it after 2 years, you can transfer. And first semester, freshman year was great. Like, party on. Second semester, I hit a wall. I'm like, I want to come home. So I put out all these applications. I got into a bunch of different schools in LA, UCLA, USC, but I couldn't start till second semester. My parents were like, you are not staying home for a whole semester and doing fuck all. I'm like, I'll work. They're like, no. So I'm like, okay, I'll go back for one more semester. And I went back and I never left. They were right. And by the way, I made the same deal with my son because I really think it's important, especially for kids who are raised in LA, that they get out of LA for a minute.
I know why I think that, but why do you think that?
Because we live in an insane city.
Yeah.
We live in as my parents used to say, we live in the world's largest company town. And everything from what people look like to business to what's important is so sort of hyper accentuated. I don't know if that's a real word. In Los Angeles, like, you need to go out and see what the rest of the country looks like. And you need to go live in it and understand.
There's like, we moved to Texas recently and we split time, but like there's a currency here.
You went to Texas just like everybody else.
Sure, yeah. But I mean, we also grew up in San Diego, so we weren't like true LA locals.
But San Diego's a similar. I mean, first of all, we like my son, he only knows girls that look like ones that run around in bikinis.
Yeah.
So like he had this really like crazy sense of what girls are supposed to look like.
But there's a currency here in LA that I don't think exists even in places like San Diego, which is like there's this kind of like social currency. Does that make sense? Like,
Yes, totally.
Where like it's a fame level. Like you get what I'm saying?
I call it, it's a lily padder. So have you ever been talking to someone and they're looking over your head to lily pad to you to get over to the next person?
I don't lily pad. I love that. No, my favorite is someone says hi and then immediately just start looking off over yourself. And I have a couple friends who are big executives that I went to school with, and one of them in particular does that. I'm always like, hey, eyes here, buddy.
I think what I like about, we'll just talk about our personal experience, Texas, is like that social currency doesn't really exist. Like people are really nice.
We're in Texas though.
We're in Austin right now.
Okay, but if you
Maybe
were
in Dallas,
Dallas,
sure. Now the Dallas people are going to come after me, but
Dallas is fantastic, but it's not Austin. I mean, it's like San Diego to LA.
Sure. But you know what I'm saying? Like there's this kind of like weird social thing that's in LA that I don't think you have in other places. And I think it's good to get outside of it and realize like, oh, like a lot of normal people don't give a shit about this kind of thing.
Well, it's not that they don't give a shit. You find out that people work in, everyone's not writing a screenplay.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Everyone isn't old. Years and years and years ago, there was this really funny t-shirt from CAA, the agency. And on the back of it was a dog sitting in front of a desk talking to an agent saying, but what I really want to do is direct. And to me, that's LA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay. I want to go way, way back to like when you were a baby.
Okay.
I want to know like what it was like growing up as Melissa Rivers. I'm very interested in when you were like 2 and 3 and 4. There's no social media. Are you in trailers every day? Like for not when I say trailers, I mean like movie trailers. Yeah.
Well, my parents, first of all, the person you saw on screen and on stage was vastly different than who my mother was. Let me preface this with saying, up until the day she died, the phones at her house were answered Rosenberg residence. And my friends, the ones that didn't sort of shift to calling her Joan, still referred to her as Mrs. R or Mrs. Rosenberg. So my parents were very clear that there were two parts of our lives. One was work, and it was made very clear to me that it was work, and that is a different set of circumstances. And when you came home, though, we were the Rosenbergs. We were home. And, I know it's like so not PC. Like I was raised with expectations that needed to be met. I was expected to get good grades. I was not turned into a snowflake, and now I'm going to get shit for calling kids snowflakes or people snowflakes. I was expected to behave. I was expected to have rules. I got grounded. I got in trouble. I had things taken away. I was expected to be polite. I was expected to get good grades. I was expected to be a good person. There were no excuses made. You knew what the rules were. And it was very different. Out in LA, my parents were very, very concerned about like which school they sent me to because they didn't want me thrown into this sort of hyper reality Hollywood mix because I had it anyway. So they wanted to make sure when I went to school, it was very traditional.
Meaning that you had it anyway because their life was so public already.
Right. But also not just public, but also I grew up in LA in the late 70s and early 80s. It was wild. And my dad used to tell us.
Why?
Well, it was just a different time. The 70s in LA, when I was little, it was great. My parents used to say they remember going to parties where there would be these giant bowls of Coke out. And it was just a different, a lot of parents were very loosey, kind of ex-hippie. It's coming out of that whole scenario. My parents were like, that's not who we are. You got to remember, my dad was German and went to school in England. And my mom was raised in New York in a very traditional family. Both my mom's parents were immigrants. And it was just a different lifestyle, and what they perceived as what successful life looks like is not necessarily what it match up very well with society here.
Were you laughing at the dinner table all the time, or was it not like that? Was it just a separate world? Why are you smiling?
Because I was going to figure out how I went into this, but I just feel good. I don't waste any time, Lauren. I don't waste any days. And that is not because I'm so well behaved all the time. It is because I got a secret weapon, and it is called No Days Wasted. Their DHM Detox. This stuff has me going, and it keeps me on point.
I have to tell you, we went down to Cabo and this saved our ass. It's basically the vitamin for when you drink. It's an herbal supplement, okay? And it's packed with antioxidants. Here's the best part, anti-inflammatory ingredients, and it's plant-based. So the other day, we were having some pork chops.
Other days.
No, really, we were having some pork chops. And we were also drinking some boozy kombucha. We were having a little hard seltzer. We were having some margaritas.
Having a little bit of everything.
Having a little bit
It
of
was
everything.
the 4th of July, people. Give us a break.
Yeah. So patio drinks were happening. And what we did was after our first drink, we all, including Weston, took no days wasted. And I'm telling you, it is essential. Okay, especially if you want to help boost your body's natural response to alcohol. I'm just saying, it helps you break down the toxins. You can forget brain fog or that gross feeling that we all hate. Like I said, 2 capsules after your first couple of drinks and it goes to work. Okay, if you have bachelorette parties, it's summer, wedding parties, holidays, whatever, No Days Wasted is your new best friend. It's a completely risk-free purchase. So if you don't love it, they'll refund you on your first box, but you're going to love it, okay? Time, personally, for me, is my greatest currency. So why waste days feeling awful after a few drinks? You deserve to have your cake and eat it too, or your margarita. We got you 20% off your order and free shipping in the US. You're going to head over to nodayswasted.co/skinny and use promo code SKINNY at checkout. That's nodayswasted.co/skinny for 20% off your order. Cheers.
I mean, my parents were both funny. My mom was really funny, obviously. My dad was very dry, very funny. I have much more of my dad's sense of humor than my mom's. My mom's offstage sense of humor was incredibly sophomoric.
What does that mean?
Silly.
Okay.
Silly. Sophomoric meaning silly. Loved a good practical joke. Loved to the end. She used to do these elaborate practical jokes that sometimes worked and sometimes didn't. And her biggest disappointment was always when she would do it to one of her friends that they would ignore it. And it would make her crazy. Crazy. You know, my mom and my perfect example. So my mom's best friend was this woman named Margie Stern. And Margie had hip surgery. And they were out and they went to theater. And Margie was still on crutches. And my mom turned to Margie and said, "Throw down your crutches." So Margie took her crutches, threw them down and screamed, "I've been saved. I can walk." And my mother and Margie were like crying. And all these people are turning around, looking at these 2 crazy Jewish women, all dressed up, screaming about the fact that Margie can walk again. So my mom also, one time, one of her very good friends, a gentleman named Mr. Kenneth, who was a very famous hairdresser, very elegant. He was Mr. Kenneth, very elegant. And so in the lobby of his apartment building, he lived in one of those great old apartments on Riverside Drive. One night went in and redecorated she told the doorman she was doing it, the entire lobby, but did it in like a sailor theme and had a portrait done of Kenneth with a parrot on his shoulder and went in the middle of the night and put all this in the lobby of the building. And Kenneth wouldn't acknowledge it. It made her climb the walls.
Do you think he knew it was her?
Really?
Like,
They were really good friends. Who else would be crazy enough to do that and like tip the doorman and say, "Shh"?
She wanted a reaction.
But it was hilarious, like the extent that she went to.
Would she prank you?
She would try, and I'd just be like, "Mom, stop it." Really? When you know each other that well, a lot of eye rolls.
When did you start? It seemed like you two had such a special relationship. Like, it seemed like you guys were always together. When did you start to realize, or what is it from the beginning, how cool your mom was and how you wanted to hang out with her? And maybe when did she start to realize how cool you were and how she wanted to hang out with you?
I love that you act like it was my choice.
You were forced. You were shipped off and then you were held at gunpoint.
Exactly. I love that people really think like, "Oh, isn't that lovely?" It's like, really? We wonder why I'm in therapy.
You guys seemed like 2 peas in a pod to me. Your show, everything.
We were very, very close. You know, it was very typical mother-daughter, you know, during the teenage years and this. And then after my father died, we had a major falling out and didn't speak for almost a year. And then when we came back together, it was a different set of rules. And we had we would have huge blow-ups. We would have huge blow-ups. But that's part of it. But it's hard when you're mother-daughter and you work together.
Yeah.
And my mom was always like, she'd spit it out and like sort of verbal vomit it all out and then be fine. And I'm much more like my dad where I would be seething. So we would get offset like at Fashion Police when I was the EP and she was the host. I would be so pissed at her because of being whatever. And she would get in the car and be like, let's stop for a snack. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot get home fast enough and get you the fuck out of the car and get away from you. She's like, ugh, just like your father.
Our generation is missing the realness that you have. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's why I think people responded. It was a real mother-daughter relationship. One time, and I know I'm over-talking, sorry.
You are not over-talking. You take the mic. We'll sit back with a piece of hay in our teeth.
You'll enjoy this story, especially because you have a daughter. So all this is ahead of you. No matter how close you are, at one point they will be a teenager, whether you like it or not. And kids learn to divide and conquer. So your life is over.
I'm done. Yeah.
You're done. You are so easily manipulated.
I moved her wrong the other, and I still can't get the image. I moved her wrong and she looked up at me with like she was so sad that I think I hurt her a little bit because I moved her position when she was watching and it was, total accident. And the way she looked at me, why would you, oh my God, it devastated. I was like, I'm done. And I was like, almost broke down.
Just add that. You're going to feel guilty forever.
Yeah.
And then she's going to come to you when you guys don't get along and try and play you off each other.
She's already kind of doing that kind of thing.
You lost your father the same way I lost my mother.
To suicide.
Yes, which is devastating.
And this is Mental Health Appreciation Month.
I would love for you to talk anything about that. Talk about mental health appreciation. I would really love that.
Not appreciation, it's mental health awareness.
Mental health awareness month.
Mental health. My mom and I were some of the first ones to really talk openly about suicide and what we call suicide survivors, which are people whose lives have been touched by suicide. I had to go back to school about a month after my dad killed himself. And it was very awkward. And granted, the media was very different then, thank God, but it had been the cover of People magazine. It had been this, it had been that. One of the upshots of the pandemic is talking about mental health now isn't as taboo. Talking about people who have, feeling suicidal is not taboo anymore. And we've seen such an uptick, especially in suicide with young people, and meaning 25 down. I find it alarming. I find it terrifying. And I think the more we all talk about it, especially during the month of May, the better. It's about erasing the stigma. And I don't know what you went through, but people make you, first of all, people are very uncomfortable and don't know what to say when you've had a parent that kills himself. It's very awkward. And what you just want to say is just spit the fucking words out. I know what happened. Let's not pretend. And don't tell me they're in a better place. Because guess what? I'm now in a shitstorm of unhappiness and they did this to me. And I don't know about you, but it takes a long time to process suicide and decisions that people make till you're at peace with it. It took me a long time to be able to say, you know what? I really hate what my dad did. And it was wrong and it's affected me and it will always affect me. And it's completely fucked up. But I accept his decision and it doesn't make me love him or have wonderful memories anyway. Are you at that point?
I am at that point. I'm actually at the point too, and I don't know if you've ever felt like this, where I have empathy. The older I get to closer to her age, I start to have empathy, and I start to, and I don't know if this is because I did mushrooms in the desert and put this together, but I started to put things together like, oh, maybe this triggered this, then triggered this, then triggered this. And I almost come from a place of understanding rather than anger.
You absolutely start to get it, whatever that means. And I think that's part of the acceptance of dealing with the grief from suicide. I think it's hard when someone has hurt you so badly to get to a place where you say, you know what, I get it. I still think it's wrong. I don't agree with the decisions you made, but I get it and I still love you.
Isn't it interesting though how experience stretches you to forgive people?
Yes.
I will not hold on to anything because I think it ends up hurting me in the long run. That sounds selfish, but you get to a point where like you can sort of forgive anything because the forgiveness has had to be stretched so much.
Well, and what I've observed from an outset with my wife, and I kind of like, we do this all the time and we say a lot of wild shit on here, and like and here's a way to caveat this. A lot of times what people think are big deals or they perceive as big deals, and maybe that is truthful, like it is a very big deal to those individuals. Some of those things that people think are big deals to someone like my wife pales in comparison to what was a real big deal in her life, which is her mother taking her life, or your father and yours. So like in a way, like sometimes she's desensitizing a bit to what other people think is important, because it's like you've already experienced some of the worst things that a human can experience.
Right. And I always felt that way, and I still feel that way, but I hear my mom's voice saying to me, remember, everyone's the star of their own movie.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Meaning that you, just because someone else thinks it's a big deal and you're like, whatever, in their movie,
it's a big deal.
Their life, it's a big deal.
That is such a good line. That needs to be the name of your next book.
Everybody's a star. Well, my next book, which I just turned in, is actually called Lies My Mother Told Me.
Oh my God, I can't. The names you guys think of, that is so good.
And the subtitle's a work of fiction, ?
Speaking of your mother, like it obviously, like everybody, I mean, I think there's people throughout history that actually do have they are like a concrete character and actually changing the way culture interacts, changing culture. Your mother is probably one of those people.
Yes.
Not only for women, but for men, the way that you can talk about things, the way you can joke about things, what's taboo, what's not, like really somebody that like kind of like stepped out the bounds and like pushed the envelope.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, fully, right?
So are you though. You have the same energy as her.
Energy, yes, but I know where you're going, because we always discuss would she be canceled.
Yeah. And I wonder what when you knowing your mother, as well
I don't
as you
think
did.
she would, because I think she's like Howard Stern, where they can say whatever the fuck
Or
they want.
Chappelle.
And she's unapologetic.
Right. And I think, as I like to say, I think her and Howard, and for sure Chappelle, would be grandfathered in.
Yeah, like they could do and say whatever they want, and people are like, that's them.
Right.
The other day, I slightly bent over to pick up some paperwork,
It wasn't a slight.
and Michael popped a boner. And that is thanks to Beta Brand.
That's how you're gonna start this one, huh?
It's true. This is a true story. I'm not like making it up. Okay, so here's the deal. Beta Brand's dress pant, yoga pant at home in black. That's the move. Get the skinny pair. I'm telling you, if you're not a fan of skinny jeans, then definitely look into their flare. But there is something that these pants do. Okay, it's gonna pop the boners everywhere.
I don't know if they want to use that as their next ad campaign, but
It's true. Okay. If you're working from home, let's look
it's
cute.
not false, that's for sure.
It's not false. Let's look cute. Like, let's lift things, let's tighten, let's flatter, but let's also be comfortable. And that is why I'm obsessed with Beta Brand's dress pant yoga pants. You look professional, you look stylish, you're comfortable, you're busy, but you also want to look great. I feel like you guys all understand me. Here's the best part though. I'm not a fan of washing my pants every single day. It's excessive. Like, I'm lucky if I wash them once a week. Sorry, Michael. These are made of wrinkle resistance stretch knit fabric. So it's perfect if you're like me and you don't want to wash your pants every second. So definitely check them out. Like I said, lots of styles and colors to choose from. I'm a fan of the black ones. Always have been, always will be. They have boot cut, straight leg, skinny, cropped 8 pocket, and more. You do you here. They launch styles weekly. Right now, All Skinny Confidential, him and her listeners get 25% off your first order when you go to betabrand.com/skinny. You guys, that's 25% off your first order for a limited time at betabrand.com/skinny. Find out why women are buying 5 different pairs of these pants. You're going to go to betabrand.com/skinny for 25% off, popping boners everywhere.
And I think, one of my biggest things right now is I hate that we're not allowed to laugh. We're not allowed to have fun. Nothing's funny. Someone's always offended. We're all editing ourselves. It's like my mom, and she really walked a line on that, started making jokes about 9/11 right after 9/11. Now, people were like, how could you? She's like, I'm a New Yorker. And I watched people walking uptown looking like ghosts. I went to every fire station and signed the books. I fucking am allowed to, if I need humor to deal with this, then I need humor to deal with this. And was very unapologetic about that. And I think, yes, we've all learned about sensitivity and certain lines and language. and things like that we cannot cross. And and my mother, on the other hand, also marched in the 60s. So in the 70s with the women's movement. But it's like, if we don't laugh, we're going to die. If people were like, oh, she was caustic and mean. And it's like, first of all, she came from such a loving place of everything. And she was always the butt of her own jokes.
She was self-deprecating. That's the best thing about her.
Self-deprecating. So it's like she used to, towards the end, she would walk out on stage. And my mom died 6 years ago. So it was sort of the beginning of you can't say that. She would walk out on stage and unleash a string of racial epithets, like the worst you have ever heard. And then she'd say, we're all something. Now let's go on with the show.
What do you think would happen if she did that in this day and age?
Oh, people would have been trying to cancel her the whole time. And her answer would have been like, fuck you.
Do you think she would have been on social media?
Oh, she was. And it was a fucking nightmare. I hated her social media.
Why? Can we bring it back? Can we go watch it? I want to watch it.
No, you don't. It was all goofy. She tried to do what was not Zoom, but what was the one? Vine.
Oh,
she would try and do Vine. Now, you have to remember my mother was not tech savvy. So when we tried to switch her from BlackBerry to iPhone, it was a huge deal. And like, I'm trying to teach her how to swipe up, and she would be going like this. like, Mom, it doesn't work like that. Like, gentle, she'd be like, I am swiping up. And she would be trying to push it with like her nail.
She was answering the phone. Hello, Mrs. Rosenberg.
Well, no. And then when she would send emails, she would just write the entire thing in the subject line. She would like just start writing, and the entire thing would be in the subject line. And then it would come up saying, this message has no content.
It's kind of endearing though.
Yes, I did save all of her emails. We do have those on a file.
What's scary though, because
scary is that someone might get that file.
Yeah, well, that's
if
scary.
You want fucking scary.
I think like comedy comedians, people like your mom, people like Chappelle, I think they're kind of the first people to start taking subjects that are really heavy and really uncomfortable and helping people heal through them, right? And if we're in a place now where you can't do that anymore, it's like, who is going to start broaching those subjects so that people can actually address real issues, right?
Well, Chris Rock also.
Yes.
I mean,
but I'm saying comedians in general. I feel like the comedy is the first way, at least one of the first ways that we start dealing with really heavy issues.
Well, if you want to go deep and engage that side of my brain, I prefer swimming around in the shallow end of the pool. Hence why I'm a fan.
That's a Joan Rivers joke right there.
I'm very happy with my life walking around the shallow end of the pool with a cocktail. Every now and again I paddle.
You know what? I'm an outlet. That's fine. I'm a fluffy pink outlet.
Exactly. But we do. We paddle down and swim around a little bit in the deep end of the pool, maybe just hanging onto the raft because it's a good place to put your drink and go from there. But if you want to get all deep and make me show off my education, which occasionally I try and do so I don't feel like my parents wasted all that money, because being a history major really has helped me in life.
I'm sure.
I bet.
No, really?
I actually bet. Michael always says history repeats itself.
Yes.
Examine history, Lauren.
But look at what I do, what I've done with my life for a living.
But it makes you sharp.
It makes me sharp. And thank you. You're very sweet to not agree with me that it does nothing for me. I can tell you, but if we do want to get serious for a second, comedy, art in general, but comedy is also a reflection of life. And if you look back through comedy, you can actually trace all the big movements through comedy. You can trace back and look at a Lenny Bruce, for example, was making jokes and coming out against the Vietnam War and doing it. Well, he went off the deep end, but you can go and look back on that and trace social history through comedy. And I always say I'm going to write a book doing that, but that takes a lot of work.
Well, I think that's what I was saying about cultural shifts, right? Like your mom was somebody that probably changed the way, honestly, a lot of women.
For women, for sure. She was the first one out there talking about going to the gynecologist. She was the first one out there talking about childbirth.
Like my wife talks about a lot of wild shit, but I think it's someone like your mom kind of paved the way, right?
But you really can, if you want to get very deep, talk about comedy as a reflection of society through history.
Well, what do you think is going to happen when people look back on this year?
That's a good question. And I think people are going to look back. Again, the the short answer is thank God it's over. The deeper answer is that we became much more enlightened and much more aware, but we're losing free speech, specifically in comedy. I'm not talking about hate speech. I'm not talking about degrading speech. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about that we're not allowing laughter.
Yeah.
And my mother always used to say, if you could get a really funny Israeli and a really funny Palestinian at the border and hang out and make each other laugh, we would have peace in the Middle East, because you can't hate someone that you laugh with.
I agree. Do you think
you can disagree with them, but you can't hate them?
Like, I think about our daughter in social studies or history class in 10 years. And it's like, do you think there'll be like images of people going crazy, like pulling toilet paper off shelves and being like, remember this period of time when they took toilet paper or when they wore a giant bubble to the soup? Like, I wonder if people are looking back at this period of time 10 years and be like, what the hell are these people doing?
Absolutely. I think people are going to be like, what? By the way, and wasn't that always a thing? I mean, I haven't been married in, Jesus, my son's 20. I haven't been married in 19 years. But and I don't know if it was with you guys at bridesmaids at a wedding showers, you used to make a toilet paper dress for the bride. Like now that's like, you might as well just hand her over a check because toilet paper was so expensive. You know, what else are you supposed to do at showers now? I hate showers, by the way. I always hated them.
Oh, I want to just do a public service announcement.
What?
Showers.
I don't want to play stupid games.
My baby shower, I had boys, a lot of masculine energy, and it's just I wanted alcohol and
and I don't want to play games. I don't want to wear a hat with a big dildo on it. I
drink out of a penis straw.
No, it's not fun.
I know.
I'd rather just have cocktails and people and give me some gifts.
Yeah, or watch some comedy.
Yeah, but it's like at least the toilet paper dresses are gone.
I'm glad the toilet paper dresses are gone.
Me too.
R.I.P.
Yes.
Thank God.
But also, like what you're saying, of course they're going to look back and be that this was the last God since Me Too started. That
are we the
changed
softest
society.
Generation? Are we?
What?
Are we the softest generation?
Well, I'm not part of it.
Yeah, are we? I asked that question a lot.
But you're not a millennial.
No, that's true. What are we?
Yes, we are.
You're millennials?
Yeah, we're millennials.
87 was my birth year. So what does that make me?
I guess that does make you. I don't know what the cutoff is.
I don't know either.
I think you're 87. No, because my son was 2000 and he's a Gen X.
I know we're not Gen Z.
He's a Gen Z. My son's a Gen Z.
How did you meet your first husband?
I rode horses competitively for years and I met him through my first husband, my only husband.
You never know.
You never know.
I mean, in LA, what do you mean? People marry first for, what is it? First for friendship, then for money, then for companionship. I don't know.
I'm looking for money.
Just skip the fucking friendship.
Skip the fucking friendship.
Companion who?
I need jewelry and a private plane.
I'll be on the lookout for you.
Yeah, please do, because I apparently am repel people.
What?
Oh, I do. My friends are like, you're so intimidating. I'm like, no, I'm not.
You are, having you on the podcast, you are, I was just thinking when you started talking, one of my most exciting guests we've ever had because you know how to handle a mic. It's rare.
Thank you. Yes, it is rare. But I'm not, I mean, I'm such an insecure, quivering fool that like I live half my life in what I call earthquake preparedness position.
Oh, you're like Michael.
Yeah, because something horrible is always going to happen. Like enjoy the moment when things are good because you know what happens after things are good, things become really bad.
That's called MUS.
What?
Made up stress. He does it to me. He brings it to me.
That's me.
Take it away from, I don't want this energy around me.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, no,
It's only downhill from here.
Yeah. You know, in this moment, we're good, but you know that this moment's going to go away. Yeah, that's me.
The other day, I caught Michael juving in his man cave, listening to Wim Hof breath, butt naked. And I want to say that you were inspired by me.
Why can't you just leave me alone when I'm doing my juve?
Why can't you just like not copy me on every single thing I do?
Let me tell you guys about red light therapy. Let me tell you about better skin. Maybe I should write the book. You want to have better skin, better sleep, more collagen, better sex, more muscle growth, better everything, more clarity.
Bigger
And you
balls.
that too. You need to jump into red light therapy and specifically Juve. We've been talking about this product for a long time, guys. We actually had the founders of the company on the show to talk all about the benefits of red light therapy. And if you're still listening to this show after all this time and haven't gotten the hint, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know if we can help you.
So the one that we have is the one that stands up. It's big, it's huge. But then I also have the new Juve Go. And this is an amazing option if you're like me and you're traveling a lot. I also sometimes will just use it when I'm getting ready and doing my skincare routine. Today I did Pilates on Skype and I just put my Juve out and it got to work. So I like the idea of having a big one at home and then one for travel. So definitely check out their new Juve Go. It's affordable and it's battery powered, so you can take it anywhere and it fits in the palm of your hand, which is so insane. So you get all these benefits on the go. You're going to use our code, as always, code SKINNY for an exclusive discount. If you're looking for a new Juve, we have exciting news. You're going to go to juve.com/skinny. That's JOOV.com/skinny and use code SKINNY. You'll get the exclusive discount on Juve's next generation devices. Exclusions apply, limited time only. Red light is going to become your new best friend.
I'm a fake confident. I play confident on TV.
I mean, I would never think that you have any speck of insecurity.
Oh my God.
But that's good to know. It opens to, this allows everyone to be like, oh yeah, this part of me is insecure. Who isn't insecure in some part?
Everyone's insecure. But literally, like when I used to go out on dates pre-COVID, where I would go out on like a date or two, the first one I went on after ending a long-term relationship, I literally was shaking and sweating.
Why?
I don't know. Ask Dr. May.
What's your type? So we can just put it out there into the ether. Gotta be funny.
Gotta be funny. Not repulsive looking.
Okay.
I used to say attractive, but now I'm just going for like not repugnant.
Yeah, I'm not like looks. I feel like we can work with.
Yeah. Good manners, bad table manners. Gotta go.
Okay.
I can't deal with bad table manners.
Taylor's off the table. Keep going.
Okay,